Hello and welcome to my channel Passionate PT. Today we're going to discuss about neurological level and motor and sensory level as well. So let's start. Neurological level is something that we try to find out in patients with spinal cord injury. If I give a very random rough definition of neurological level, so this is something that tells us that what is left with the patient after spinal cord injury, or how much of the spinal cord is intact that we can use for the rehabilitation after the injury has happened. So to find out the neurological second thing is that why neurological level is important to be found. Okay, neurological level is very important for the prognosis of the patient. It is something that tells us that how much of intensive treatment is required for the patient to return um, to a possible healthy lifestyle. Secondly, it is very important for the communication between the healthcare practitioners, between surgeon, physician, physical therapist, occupational therapist, all those who are involved in the for the revival of the patient, all need to have a communication between each among them. So for that they need to know that at which level is patient, and every person in the team knows that. So for communication it is very important to know the neurological level, and also it is to tell the patient that how much of the recovery is possible with the present condition, and also to know that which assistive device he may possibly need after the completion of the treatment or after the completion of the rehabilitation. So to find out the neurological level, we need to fulfill certain conditions, certain criteria. After fulfilling that criteria, we can finally tell that okay, this is the most intact, or this is the neurological level of the patient. Now, what is the criteria? First, it is most caudal. By most caudal, we mean the most lower intact level. Okay, but the most lower intact level. Now, how we can say that this is most lower and intact level? The second condition which need to be fulfilled is that for that level to be called as neurological level, the sensory and motor sensations on both sides, or sensory and motor tracts, in other words you can say on both right and left side of the spinal cord, should be fine. Okay, now how we can say that sensory and motor tracts will be fine? For sensory, we'll check the dermatomes. Pinprick sensation is considered to be mainly checked, but other sensations can also be. For sensory, we'll check the dermatomes. And for motor, the MMT. What is MMT? MMT is manual muscle testing. Okay, the MMT should either be greater than 3 or equal to 3. So the muscles that are supplied by that level on both the right and left side should have a strength of 3 or 3 plus, should be in the grade 3 or 3 plus, those muscles. And number 4, that all the levels of the spinal cord that are located above that level which you are considering as your neurological level, all the above levels than that level should have the grade 5 by 5. That means that all the above levels, all the levels which are located above and with the muscles which they supply should be normal or in the grade 5. Okay, so these all conditions need to be fulfilled to finally find out that okay, this is our neurological level, and at this level we need to work. So this question I've already answered, that why we need the neurological level. It's for prognosis, for communication, and other things. Now here I have drawn this diagram for showing the neurological level. Here I have labeled C8 as the level of injury or level of lesion. So this is the case in the scenario of complete transaction. Okay, now a C8 is your level of injury. So your neurological level will be above C8. Okay, so you can consider C7 as your neurological level. Why? So, for neurological C7 to be considered the neurological level, all the condition needs to be fulfilled, that it is most caudal. Secondly, the sensory and motor sensation on the left and sensory and motor sensation on the right both need to be fine and good. All the levels above the C7, these all levels, C6, 5, 4, all the levels need to have the should be supplying the muscles which all these levels above level will be supplying should have a grade of 5, means they should be fine and good, and they will also, so then you can consider C7 as your neurological level, and then you can decide that which modification, lifestyle modification, or which assistive device, or which rehabilitation schedule, or whatever you can decide on the basis of that you can apply for the patient. Okay, so now another important thing is that here I have made another example. You can see in this that, okay, look, here there was complete transaction, but here there is not complete transaction. So here, half on left half, if we write it as left half of C8 is injured, and here the right of T2 is injured. So in this, for example, if you see T1, if you try to check the T1, you cannot call it as, if it is not injured, but you cannot call it as your neurological level, because in all the above levels the grade is not 5/5, C8 is injured. Okay, so neurological level, above level should have normal grade 5/5 muscles. Okay, so now if you do not find any neurological level, then you go for motor level and sensory level. So what is motor level? For motor level, again the conditions are that it should be most caudal, means most lower level which you find. The muscles which that level supply should have a manual muscle grade of 3 or 3 plus, and all the above levels should have a grade of 5. Now, for example, in this case, if we take C7, now you can say that the motor tracts are fine on both sides, like the muscles which are supplied by the left and right have a grade of the 3 or 3 plus, but the sensory tracts are not fine, and this is the most caudal level. So you can label as this as your motor level. And then you come to C6. Here your sensory tracts are fine, but the muscles do not have the strength of 3 or 3 plus, then you will label this as your sensory level. You cannot label. In this case, you have to define the sensory and motor level separately when you cannot find all of the this criteria on a single level. You do not, when you are unable to find a neurological level, then you find motor level, and sensory level and sensory you find by dermatomes. Now another question rises that which muscles we actually involve for manual muscle testing to find the grade. We cannot, for spinal cord injury patient, it is not possible to check from top to bottom all of the muscles. Okay, so that is why there are the group of the muscle that are designated for the spinal, for prognosis, for finding the neurological level of spinal cord injury patient, and these muscles are called as key muscles. Okay, now one thing you need to keep in mind, that key muscles are different from the myotomes is something different. Key muscles are different. Key muscles you need to memorize for determining the neurological level of the patient in spinal cord injury patient. Okay, here actually I tried to write down all the key muscles, but due to lack of space I couldn't write. And secondly, they are you know uh, quite a number, so I did not write it. I can narrate you down. For example, for C5, the key muscle are elbow flexors and more specifically biceps and brachialis. For C6, their wrist extensors that include extensor carpi, radialis longus and brevis. For C7, their elbow extensors that include triceps, and similarly so on. For C8, there are finger flexors that are flexor digitorum profundus. Then for T1, it is small finger abductor, that abductor digiti minimi. And similarly in the lower limb, you have L2, for L2 iliopsoas, for L3 quadriceps, for L4 you have dorsiflexors, ankle dorsiflexor, that tibialis anterior. Then for L5 you have toe extensors, extensor hallucis longus. For S1 you have plantar flexors, that are gastrocnemius and so on. If please make sure you google it and memorize the exact muscles which are provided, because the key muscles are very important. If I have made any mistake in narrating the key muscles, then apologies for that, and please correct me in the comment section if you find any mistake. So this is all about the neurological level and motor and sensory level. Hope you liked the video. Thank you very much for listening. Take care.